Hello, my name is Aang, or you can also call me Aangy, and today I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation on this anime called Love Through a Prism. And if you know me, I like art, currently in art school for like one more semester, and this anime has inspired me. It has inspired me, and I want to just talk about it. Welcome to my PowerPoint presentation. I'm Professor Aang today. What is Love Through a Prism? Basically, Love Through a Prism is a slow burn anime, slice of life. Highly recommend it if you're in your 20s, if you're in college, if you're an art student. If you're an art student that likes anime, you will like this. Maybe, but it is a slow burn romance. The romance is slow, but in my opinion, it's kind of realistic. I see this happening. It's a slice of life. It's set in the early 1900s. You could kind of say that this is a historical anime. A little synopsis by me. Love Through a Prism is about a 20-year-old Japanese artist named Lili, and she dreams of becoming a professional painter. And then one day she was at an art show. She saw Western art. She was super inspired by it. So she got the opportunity, funded by the Japanese government, to attend a prestigious art school called St. Thomas Art Academy, located in London, England. And her dad is more on the chill side, like, girl, do what you gotta do. Her mom is more like, girl, you can only stay if you become top student within the first 6 months. Lily is like, bro, how the frick am I supposed to do that? But I guess I'll figure it out. If she doesn't meet those conditions, she has to come back to Japan, get married, and take over her family's kimono business, which is kind of insane. So then we just basically follow her journey in London with her attempt of becoming top student. Although that is basically the story, it's not really centered around that. It's so much more than that, and it's just really about a 20-year-old Japanese artist trying to make it, trying to get through school, and she just genuinely learns what it really means to become a true artist through the people that she meets and the things that she learns at her school, basically. But there's also like a lot of romance. I actually really love the friend group that she has, so now you should go watch it, and then you come back here when you're done. Everything here on out is spoilers, so bye. In episode 1, we see Lily. She goes to England. My first impressions: she's a main protag, quirky, somewhat hot-headed, loud, energetic. She's basically the textbook version of main character. All of her power is in this little like hair swoosh over here that she has. So she goes to London, fresh off the boat, literally. She's trying to find where her school is. Google Maps is not invented. She's lost. She bumps into this guy named, we don't know yet. She bumps into this guy at like the river in London. I don't even know what it's called. He's like sketching at the side of the water. First impressions of this guy that we don't even see his eyeballs. Probably the main lover boy. Probably. Unhoused? Maybe? I don't know. That was literally my first thought. Probably, down in the dumps. Gotta start back from zero. Everyone has the opportunity to get back on their feet, which is fine. But that was my first opinion. Possibly Lily's rival, socially unintelligent, but still really nice. What happens here is Lily meets him and she's like, yo, what are you even doing? And then her stomach is like growling. He's like, are you hungry? And he offers her bread that is covered in charcoal because he's sketching the ocean with charcoal, and he also has bread. But I think he's using the bread to like as a blending stick, and if you're an artist, you know what like a blending stick is. But he basically has this bread, it's covered in charcoal, and he's like, oh, are you hungry? Here's a piece of bread. Lily's like, bro, what are you even doing? Like, what is happening here? Like, what? I just got off the boat and this guy is offering me charcoal covered bread. What is this land? But then he does point her in the right direction, so then she ends up going to where she needs to go. So she ends up at school. It's a really progressive school, especially as a school that takes place in the 1900s. It's really open to anyone of gender, any financial status, any ethnicity, because the founder of the school believes that art is universal and should be accessible to everybody, which is so nice. I wish this was real back then. Maybe life right today would be incredibly different and like more advanced, because this is more of like a school of like 2020 era. So then we meet this other girl at the school. Her name is Dorothy. She's literally giving Hermione. Dorothy, first impressions. She believes Lily is a samurai. She basically points Lily in the right direction, is basically her guide of the school and everything, and is like literally there for her since day one. And then we also meet her professor, Professor Brandt. He tries to be inspiring. He tries. But then he quotes Shakespeare, and I'm also like, I studied Shakespeare in school. Don't really know what's going on. but okay. He's literally that professor in art school, if you know, you know, that will give you a freaking like a barely passing grade for no reason. Even if they're like, yeah, your art's good. Mans will give you like a freaking 60, but he'll be like, it's for character development. No one deserves hundreds in my class. Like, okay, thank you for this passing grade. I appreciate it. Also, who is this guy? I was rewatching and making this PowerPoint presentation. I was like, I've never seen this man after this first episode. Like, he never came back. Like, I don't know who this guy is. Don't know why he's here, but he's there in the first episode. So yeah, again, as I said in the synopsis, we learn about Lily's parents' conditions. Gotta be top student within the first 6 months or you're out. You're back in Japan, married, kimono business. Just for her to find out that St. Thomas top student is, which basically at the school, they have critiques and then they have like a ranking system of like who the best students are, and they display the best art in this random hallway in the school. Just for her to find out that the blonde kid from the waterfront literally is the top student of her school, and that guy is her rival. So this guy, literally, she's zoning out, thinking about, oh my god, like I have to become top student in this school. Ooh, zoning out, unresponsive. This guy goes into the classroom that she's like zoning out in, and then goes through her things. Bro, like, okay. My second opinions on this guy is like, this guy is a weirdo. I cannot. And if you know me, I love my shoujo romances. I'm more of someone who likes a traditional superhero as the main character. And that's just me. I'm more attracted to those kinds of characters. This guy's a freaking opposite. Like, socially unaware, weird. When I first watched this episode, I was like, I don't know if this anime is gonna do it for me. But alas, we carry on. Impressions 2.0, this guy's a weirdo. Sorry. This is the top student, Kit. Impressions 2.5. Talented weirdo. Kit is an interesting name. Why did I write this? We get some slice of life moments. They meet up at school, the friend group. We kind of get to know them. This guy over here is named Peter. He's kind of in it, I guess. Kit stares at Lily and he's like, you remind me of Aphrodite. And she's like, the Greek goddess? The Greek goddess. Me? The statue? That is a compliment? And this guy's like, no, my horse. My horse named Aphrodite. And literally, the scene that they use for this explanation is horrid. Horrid. Like, why does this horse look like that? And I was watching this, my jaw dropped to the floor, and I was like, you cannot be serious right now. How am I supposed to like this guy? How am I supposed to like this guy? Like, I don't know. Kit's Impressions 3.0, rude AF. So then we have the first critique session that's gonna happen. Basically, Lily gets introduced to the class. She experiences some racism. Just because she's different, just because she's from Japan, Asian, doesn't look like everyone else. Although we do have Peter here, who is from India, but we have Lily here. She experiences some microaggression, stereotypes about like the food that she eats, blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like anyone that has grown up as a person of color in a Western society, you know, this is not new. And it's really unfortunate and it's really sad. But Lily's like, you know, I don't really care about that shit. I'm not here for that. I don't care about these people. I'm here to become top student. I'm here. I'm locked in. So we get our first critique prompt. And the prompt is sky. And this guy, Professor Brandt, is like, paint whatever you think represents sky to you, and we will see who's the best at it. That's essentially what it is. So then during their first critique session, everyone's like scrambling because they have a time limit of like the end of the day to finish this work. They literally get 1 day, which is insane. Everyone's gonna paint and stuff. And then these like weird girls who were also like the weird racist comments about Lily, they're like, this girl needs to be checked. Right? So Lily's gonna like, you know, setting up my art stuff, gonna paint the sky. And then they bump into her and then they drop all her supplies on the ground and they steal her blue paint, which, you know, if you're gonna paint a sky, I think blue is very important when you're painting, you know? So they steal her blue paint. She's like, bro, where's my paint? It's giving Velma looking for her glasses, you know? And then Kit notices that like Miss Girl is frantically panicking, throws ultramarine blue paint at her, yoink, hits her in the head. She's like, yo, what is this? Realizes it's Kit. It's the way that he threw it and then turns around. He's like, I'm not gonna look, you know, she can deal with that. I'll just help her without, you know, any interaction. So she gets the ultramarine blue, which apparently is like a very rare, expensive blue paint. And then she finishes her painting. My Kit Impressions 4.0. Wow, so kind. Maybe I'll like him. He notices Lili. And then once everyone's painting ends and finishes, we have the first critique, and it's Lili becomes second place for her first critique, which is like apparently really, really good. And then Kit, of course, comes first. And it's interesting to me because like although in my opinion, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, everyone's opinions on art and like what they think is better or worse art is really like up to you. It's like up to your preference. Yes, there is skill, but especially if it's like a painting assignment like this where it's like paint your interpretation on like sky. I feel like it's really hard to like put a number on that unless it's like just genuinely your own opinion. So like there's that, but it's interesting how the creators of the story of this show kind of shows that thinking outside of the box is what's gonna get you number one. And I don't think that's essentially always true in the, I guess, real world. But I think in the story's sake, thinking outside of the box helps like non-artists believe, yeah, that's so different. That deserves number one. Because like when you look at this, basically Kit's painting doesn't use any blue paint because 1, Lili has his blue paint. 2, he uses purple instead. 3, he's not painting the sky, but a reflection of the sky in a freaking puddle on like a stone pathway, which I won't even gonna lie, that's pretty cool. What I'm saying is, it's interesting to me that the creators just show that like, yeah, Kit's vision is different and that's why it's number one. Professor Grant's critique to Lili, she is really good technical wise. If you were to have a photo of something, she could replicate that onto paper really well, but she lacks the artistic vision, which again, what I said is like what Kit has in this because he thought outside of the box. So that's what Professor Grant is trying to look for and is critical of Lili because she just painted a sky really well. And I also think the critiques in this story is really different from actual art schools. But I think there are different ones. Like you can do like one-on-one critiques with the teacher. But from my experience, a lot of like the bigger critique sessions, especially if like it's something like this, which is like a big deal, everyone will have to present in front of everybody. And then basically you share your process, your thoughts behind it. And then basically people from your class will be like, okay, this is what I think is great about it. And this is what I think you could improve. And basically you have to do this in front of everybody. And sometimes like your professor will just grill you in front of your whole class. But you have to do this in front of everybody because everyone can learn from each other. It makes you feel less worried because everyone's gonna get freaking grilled. No matter how good you are, you're gonna get freaking grilled. But it is scary because you do feel that imposter syndrome, like, oh no, like this person's so much better than me, like I'm not that good. But that's from my experience how critiques go. But in the show, it's just the professor's opinion. And one day assignment is crazy. I guess it's like one of those prompt things, but like if that's gonna determine who's the best like art students ranking wise, it's kind of like cooked, bro. Because art isn't like that. Like you don't just rush it. Art takes time. And I think that part of the story is really unrealistic because like one day to determine who is the best student is kind of crazy. At the end of the critique, he was only looking at Lili's painting and he was just like staring at it. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Don't know why he's staring at her work. Does he see her as competition? I don't know. And then after that day, like Lili was like, you know, I'm gonna grind. I'm gonna practice my drawing on the side of a road with my bike. And then Kit is like, yo, what the heck? What are you doing? She's like, I'm just drawing. And then he was like, do you want to find Lili's in a cave with me? And then she's like, what? And he's like, I'm gonna steal your bike so we can go. This man just starts walking away with her bike. Miss Girl's on the ground. Turns out Kid doesn't even know how to freaking bike. So he's like catching a ride with her. It's giving Inuyasha, Kagome. So freaking cute. Love it. And they go on like a little like countryside adventure. They take random stops to like sketch and stuff. And Lili sees sheep for the first time. And because Kit is the top student, she is actively trying to learn from him and actively trying to figure out what makes him so good. Like, what did he do to become so good? Is he just born talented? He needs to give me some tips. She's asking him for tips, and then he's like, girl, genuinely, it's just practice. And she's like, huh? Not just that. Like, give me like techniques and stuff. Honestly, art, in my opinion, and from my experience, genuinely, you can learn so much technique. But like, if you just try to learn these things without actually practicing over and over and over and over again, it's gonna be harder for you to get better. So you just have to like do it. You just gotta draw all the time, paint all the time. And then we kind of get to know their characters a lot more and we can see how different their personalities are. And in this scene, she's like, oh my And he's like, bro, I'm trying to eat an apple right now. Stop. It's so funny because he's so like Cinderella, like monotone personality, and then Lily's like energetic, crazy, and excited and all that stuff. So they take some random stops to sketch. Lily was teaching Kit how to use yatate, I think it's called. It's basically a Japanese like ink brush. And Kit is really bad at it. And she's like, bro, actually, that's crazy that you can't do this. I think it just proves that like sometimes like even the most perfect, amazing person that you think is amazing at everything isn't amazing at everything. It really is just like practice along the way. So then they have deep talks. Lily talks about how she wanted to study in London because she fell in love with the culture and a specific English painting that she saw when she was young. And the kid's like, bro, England's so boring. Everything looks the same. I hate it here. Blah, blah, blah. And then he goes all poetry and he says, even the drawing you drew is so much more interesting. It's like it can fly away. I don't know if you can tell, but I watch this in English dub. But I do have moments where the English dialogue feels better. You know what I mean? I have receipts, okay? I have receipts. They had milk from like one of the farmers that they bumped into over here with like the sheep. Drinking some milk from the goats or the cow, I don't know. And then they indirectly kiss. Hello. And Lily's like, bro, stop that. But that happened because they drank from the same bottle. It's giving so like shoujo, you know what I mean? Where she's like, we can't do that. And this guy's just like, I don't care. It's just milk, bro. And then they have more deep talks. Kit's like, I don't really realize I'm even number one, which that does check out because he was just staring at Lily's painting, maybe out of admiration. But he doesn't realize he's number one. People's opinion doesn't change anything when he paints. Lily tells him that she can only stay if she's number one in 6 months. She mentions how men have privilege to do anything they want. Even if she can't stay after not being number one in the first 6 months, she doesn't even have a choice. She can't even like marry who she wants or go into the career she wants. Has to do everything that her mom wants her to do, which sucks. On the other side, Kit's like, I don't even have freedom, even though I'm me. Once we get to know him more, like, yeah, I see that. You could see it in two different ways, I guess. This scene just shows Kit's like humbleness, if that makes sense. So then they crash the bike, of course, obviously, like that is a shoujo trope given. And then it starts raining, bro. It starts raining. The bike is on top of a haystack, unretrievable, totaled it. GG's, bro. You're stuck. And then Kit gives her his jacket, which is, you know, Impressions 5.0. A gentleman. And then they have more talks. Lily thanks Kit for the blue paint and apologizes because he didn't get to use his blue paint. Kit says that he didn't even intend on using the blue paint anyways because the outcome of his painting is the colors that he saw in that moment, which, what does that even mean, bro? But I think it's just the way Kit sees things. In episode 2, basically, Peter explains that Kit has eyes like a prism, and basically a prism refracts white light and separates it into a spectrum of colors. Essentially, he sees the world and has an artistic vision unlike everyone else. What Peter's trying to say here is that everyone else sees the world with this white light, but then Kit sees it like Pride Month, you know what I mean? Rainbow-esque. He sees everything differently. So I have more deep talks. He talks about how he sketches a lot because he wants to capture every moment. I think he is like the primal stages of like a camera, basically. Cameras were invented. I think he would have been a photographer. And in this moment, I thought that maybe he has some like deep trauma thing that happened to him, which is why he's like this, because I don't know. And then the rain stops, and then Kit finds the field of lilies that he was looking for by scent, and then they sketch the flowers together, which is weird because, you know, earlier he was like, let's find lilies in a cave, but this is not a cave, it's just like a field of lilies. And then, oh my god, this moment was like, what? Miss Girl starts getting mad at him because he's like sketching by himself, and she's like, not fair, you're doing this without me. And then this guy like pulls out her sketchbook and he's like, here, had this ready for you. And you notice that he's carrying both of their bags. She has his jacket over him, like, oh my god, a gentleman. Literally the bare minimum, but like, wow. Impressions 5.5, boyfriend material. I'm starting to approve. Then Lily asks Kit how he got into drawing, but then he ignores her question. And then he looks at her and then at the flowers, and then he says, the lilies, they're so beautiful. But in the English sub, he says, the flowers, aren't they so pretty? But like in the English sub, he says, the lilies, they're so beautiful. Do you mean the flowers, Kit? Or do you mean Lily? You know what I mean? Do you mean both the flowers and Lily? Everything that's named Lily that is beautiful? Bro. And then Lily is like, bro, like, where did you even find this? How did you think about finding lilies in a cave? He's like, oh, I read about finding lilies in a cave west from the capital from a book I stole from Professor Bront. And Lily's like, bro, that's probably some like Shakespeare. It's not real. It's a play. It's funny because like he went on this whole adventure with her, not even knowing where to find lilies in a cave, but somehow they still found lilies in a field. But anyways, I did try to find a Shakespeare play that did mention lilies, but I couldn't really find a line specifically towards finding lilies in a cave west from the capital. But he does reference lilies a couple of times. So according to Google's AI overview, he does use lilies as imagery for purity, decay, or nature. He uses lilies to represent how pure or beautiful things can turn sour. Like, is that what I'm trying to see? So like shit's gonna hit the fan after this? Oh, I hope not. Not that I know of. And then Kit goes, oh my gosh, this flower, lilies, they have the same name. Impressions 5.6. A little slow. And then Lily goes back to school and Miss Dorothy is bullying her. Sounds like you've gotten pretty close. She gets it, bro. She gets it. So in episode 4, Lily writes a letter to her parents talking about how she's doing. Her dad's like, oh my god, she's doing so well. Her mom is being so freaking negative. And she's like, she's probably lying, having a hard time. She's just gonna pack up and go home. Like, dang, girl, have more faith on your daughter. Like, I would have given her at least a year, you know? And then at the lunchroom, the friend group is like hanging out, Kit's asleep, and they notice that his shoes are really dirty. And they're like, oh my god, like, guess they're so dirty because he can't afford some new shoes. But then Peter's like, guys, are you blind? That's literally shoes that royals wear. That's some high-end red bottom Louis Vuittons. So then now everyone's like, weird. Maybe he stole that off of someone else's feet. And then we learn that there's a new student named Shinosuke from Japan. And then him and his sister are across the street from Lily's place. He's also in the art school with Lily, but he is studying sculpting. And then there's an exhibition where basically it's an art show where all the students from the school can display their art, and then locals, like random normal people, regular people, come to look at the art. And they also have the option to purchase art. We've done this in high school, and I remember had an exhibition at town hall. Some of our art pieces got bought out, not mine though. And then everyone's like hurtling around Kit's painting, which is of the Ben 10 Big Ben, oh my god. And everyone's like, oh my god, like, is this Kit's painting? Blah 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 blah. This one is Lily's, which again, as I said, it depends on the eye of the beholder. I think the difference between Lily and Kit is Lily painted these sheep because she's never seen sheep before in real life, and she thought that sheep was so amazing to her, so cool, and to see these majestic animals. But as Kit said, he did say that England is so boring and that there's nothing there to offer. Everything's the same. So maybe that's why Kit tries to see things with rose tinted glasses, if that makes sense. So I feel like his vision is different because of how every angle of England is so boring to him. He tries to make it look interesting through his art, essentially hyping up his hometown. I guess, I don't know. And then this guy named Henry Church pulls up. He's a noble. He gets a lot of praise for doing great things for foreign diplomacy for the country, and he contributed to England's peace and prosperity. So he's a noble guy who is really looked up to and praised. So he's not some corrupt like government person or royal. He's like actually someone that people really look up to. And then Kit pulls up. This man pulls up fresh, and suddenly 1 + 1 = 2. You know what I mean? And we learned that his real name is Christopher Church, and if you can see, the things are matching up. And I'm surprised that no one figured this out, but I guess maybe Church is a common last name. Don't know. We also meet this guy named Richard Church, Kit's older brother. He's a helicopter freaking parent, bro, to Kit, which is insane. This man makes me wanna, like, oh my gosh. Next in line to take his dad's spot, he's uptight AF. Complains about everything everyone does all the time, everywhere, every time, all at once. This guy just cannot calm down. Like, this is why he's turning gray early. So at the exhibition, everyone's like, oh my god, Kit's a freaking noble. Suddenly we're all best friends. And then Kit's dad is like, oh my gosh, you guys should all hang out at Junham Hall, which is a real place in London, by the way. But that is where, in this story, the Churches live. He invites the whole friend group for the holidays. Lily's like, like, I don't really want to go. I kind of wanted to like practice my drawing. And then Dorothy's like, oh my gosh, Lily, you should come, please. It's gonna be so fun. So then she's like, okay, fine, I'll come. So then everyone goes to Jennum Hall. We also learned that Sakura is mute. We also pulled up to Jennum Hall. Basically, it's on a huge estate where there's also a village with villagers, and all those villagers work for the churches, but it was because there was a drought, and then the Duke, which is Kit's dad, used his own money to save the farmers. Now everyone's happy because they can live in a nice area. They have jobs, probably get paid well, and they live in harmony as the Avatar intended. So then they're in Jennum Hall. Everyone else is like going to go see their rooms. Of course, Lily is walking, falls and trips. Yoink. Kit sees her and he says, you certainly know how to make an entrance, don't you? But then in the English sub, he says, I've never seen anyone trip in a place like this. What? It's kind of interesting how different that is. Like, the translations are so different. You certainly know how to make an entrance, don't you? Versus, I've never seen anyone trip in a place like this. It's basically the same vibe, but like different sauce. So then he pulls up, helps her up, and then everyone comes back. Y'all cock blocks, go see your rooms. Let these two have their own singular moment together, okay? This actually is a price match. Scene match to a moment that happens later on, which, oh my god, if only I was like a content creator that made like fan cams, I would. Kit's forced to dress up. They all have dinner together as a family. And then Lily's like, bro, I don't even know how to use a spoon and fork. I'm a chopstick person. But then he's like, just copy what I do. And then she does everything exactly that he does, all the way down to like wiping her face with a tissue. And he's like, bro, you don't have to copy every single movement. And she's like, oh my gosh, but like everything is so cool. I love everything. She's like so excited and optimistic. And it's cute that she doesn't worry too much about all that. And then at the dinner table, it's super heated. The brothers go back and forth about things that they don't agree with. And then Joffrey, which is like one of the other friends with the red hair, he's like, you know, kid, this is your life. Even if you don't like it, it is what it is. And then Dorothy and Lily have girl time with the maid. And she says that she's really happy that Kit has friends because he was so shy and lonely as a kid. I could see that. That's why he's a little bit weird. And then Lily kind of accidentally eavesdrops on Richard and Kit's conversation. Richard is really critical of Kit's artistic lifestyle, and he believes he needs to shape it up because he is next in line after him. Apparently in the story, the dad wasn't actually next in line. He was the second brother after his older brother, but his older brother suddenly died, so then he had to take up the responsibilities even if he didn't want to. And that's why Richard is so up Christopher's booty cheeks, because Chris will have to take over if anything happens to Richard. And in episode 6, we have a flashback of Kit's childhood. So we learn that Kit used to draw a lot of things for his mom while she was sick, and then she probably died because of her illness. Like, she doesn't pull up. And then Papa Church decides to invite the squad to this ball, and then Richard is like, are you freaking crazy? These art student hooligans cannot come to the ball. We have so many important people coming. And he was like, y'all better shape it up. Don't act out of line. Don't be embarrassing. He like dead ass says that to these people, and then the dad is like, no, they can come over. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be so fun. The dad is so chill, bro. Also, Joffrey and Dorothy, so cute. They match their energy so well. And then we actually meet Aphrodite. We meet Kit's actual horse, Aphrodite, and everyone's in awe. And like, everyone's like, wow, that's the most majestic and beautiful horse I've ever seen. And it's funny to me that no one like puts one and one together, because like, he literally looked at Lily and was like, you look like Aphrodite. And now everyone's like, oh my god, Aphrodite's actually so beautiful, after being so offended that he called her a horse. Hello, he was literally saying that she's so pretty, like a horse. Kit talks about how Aphrodite doesn't really warm up to people easily, only Kit, but he does like Lily. I don't know, I think it's like a thing also, like if animals tend to like you, I think it's a good sign of things. In the English dub, he teases her and says that maybe it's because she smells like hay, which is referencing to episode 3 when they were looking for lilies. Basically, when he smelled the lilies, he was like, ooh, what's it smell? What's that smell? And then she's like, bro, I shower. Anyways, I don't even know what I'm talking about. The ball part was so, like, I think it was like the highlight of the show. This part was so good. Lily didn't have a fancy dress to wear. I didn't have any space in my luggage, you know, I had to bring all my art supplies. So she's like, I'm not gonna go. Dorothy's like, you know, I'll bring you food, I guess. But then Lily low-key regrets it and she has FOMO. She's like, bro, I should have just brought a dress. And then at the ball, Shin's like, I wonder where Lily is. And, you know, at this point, you're kind of like, seems like Shin likes Lily, I think. And then Kit's also looking for Lily. And then Dorothy's like, yo, yeah, she doesn't have a dress. So then Kit leaves. bye, without saying anything, just man just walks away. And suddenly, Lily's fairy godmother pulls up and gives her a dress, which is so cute because it literally reminds me of like, this is a screenshot from Cinderella 2. And every time a show does that thing with like the corset, with like the maid helping her out, tightening the corset, I always think about Cinderella 2. I don't know if that's like the source of it, like the source reference, but I always think about it every time. And then Richard is like, Christopher, there's no time for this foolery. You have to go talk and mingle with people, blah, 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 blah. And then like Kit is like, bro, I'm just trying to enjoy living right now. He's like, get your hands off of your pockets. Richard is like being so up his booty cheeks, like he's worried about what Christopher is doing. Like, dude, maybe just worry about yourself. You're the real next in line, not even Chris. Like, calm down. It's the way he's like cussing him out in front of all the guests. Like, all these guests can see the shit. Also, Kit reminds me of Ashling's here, and if you haven't watched Banana Fish, highly recommend it. Love it. It's totally different vibes in this, but like it's a really good show. I recommend. And then Lily pulls up, which I thought was a wedding dress, to be honest, but it's literally a reference to Cinderella, more specifically the live action version. I tried to like find the scenes that would match in the original movie, but I think it was really referencing the live action. Miss Girl pulls up, there's a whole curtsy in front of all the guests. Like, what? I didn't know she was supposed to do all that, right? Match cut, look at this scene. Literally perfect. 1-to-1. She curtsies, everyone's looking, back shot of her. All the guests turns head, they're like, who's this girl? Everyone's looking, what family is she from? Who is she? And people are also saying like, oh, I haven't seen that dress in eons. Like, it's been so long since I've seen this dress. Even this dress like style over here is kind of similar. Oh my god, I love it. Literally so pretty. It's also so interesting how like the Lily references, and her name is literally Lily. It's like a match made in heaven, bro. Like, this dress was made for her. And then we have shocked freaking Pikachu out here. 1-to-1 from the original to the show. 1-to-1. I love it. I love it. Oh my god. Also 1-to-1 to the original. That ass. Oh my god. The prince is like, you know, not really yapping, but like, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, would you like to marry me? I would like to marry you, prince. So then Mr. Princey Prince walks in, yoinks, walks away. And here, Kit was also attending to some girl that is important, like 2 seconds. But it's like the same thing. He just like brushes past her. Bye. Bye, girl. Bye. So then they have the bird's eye view shot of them dancing, which is like 1-to-1 to the Cinderella, and I love it so much. Also, this coat of arms with the lilies is literally so pretty. And it's interesting how like that's like their family crest probably, with like the lilies, and I guess it's that important. I mean, it reminds me of like Romeo and Juliet as well, the anime version. But it's so cute. And then the lilies, significant, again, embroidered. I love how they showed how it's embroidered on the dress and in her hair and everything. It's crazy how they literally styled her exactly like Kit's mom, which is referenced later on, but like the lilies in the hair and the way her hair is done, it's like 1-to-1. Same shit, bro. And then they're dancing. Oh god, while I was watching this, I was taking notes for the video, obviously, and like this is my literal note. Aw, so cute. Literally prettiest scene ever. They're dancing and they're literally taken into a different like dimension where no one else is in the room. Music is playing, freaking canon in D. Yes, I've learned this in violin class as well. They're like dancing. Oh my god, I'm finally shipping them here. Took 6 episodes, but it's happening. It's happening. Yes, King, you did your shit. Treat your woman. You really thought this through. You know what I mean? So impressions 6.0 after everything so far in this episode. So romantical. Thank you, Kit. You had your redemption arc, and I think it was worth it. And then in the ball, after their whole dance session, this guy has like, he's like, what do you think you're doing? Mischief has its limits. Blah, 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 blah. Like, this guy is mad at Kit for doing this. But then you kind of like understand it in a second, where he was mad because he was supposed to dance with his fiance. His fiance? So this whole time he has a fiance and didn't tell anybody. Well, I guess he also didn't tell anyone he was a royal either, so I wouldn't have expected that. But his fiance, I get how that is embarrassing. I get it. Yeah, so his fiance, Miss Blonde Girl, pulls up. Impression 6.5. Not even 5 minutes after that scene. Bloom. Goes down. Oh boy, man should have sorted all of that out before playing with my girl Lily's feelings. But shoot your shot, I guess. I think in the cliche sense of things, like obviously how shows go, he was obviously pushed into this marriage unwillingly, especially after learning more about how Kit is. I think he should have like figured that out before he started going for Lily, because obviously that's what he's trying to do here. You know what I mean? So he was mad because he was supposed to dance with his fiance. I was also thinking about how much she reminds me of Hermione from Romeo and Juliet, because in the anime Romeo and Juliet, she's not really an actual character in the Shakespeare play, but she's a character in the anime, and she was supposed to be Romeo's fiance, basically. And oh my god, she made me so bad. I hated her so much. They even have the same like hair with like the blonde hair and the little swirly curls. Oh my god, I hated. Oh, got in the way of my ship too many times. So then her name is basically Catherine, and then she and Richard tell Lili about the significance of the dress that she's wearing and how it shouldn't be just worn by anyone. And then Lili gets embarrassed and she goes off on Kit, yelling. Everyone's looking at the situation. Everyone's like, what's going on? She walks away. Kit is visibly over the party and he walks away too after his brother scolds him. Like, he even like ruffles his hair back. This is my opinion. Catherine and Richard are the ones who essentially escalated the issue and embarrassed Lili. They were like, Kit, how can you do this to her? This dress was so significant. Like, it's embarrassing for you to get her to wear it. Like, okay, like, you know, I understand that the dress is important and all, but like, maybe you guys could talk about this later. You're the ones who are making a scene. You're making it an issue. Like, you're escalating it into an issue. And I get why Catherine would have done it, because obviously she's like, I'm supposed to marry you, you know? Like, why is this girl taking my place right now? But like, Richard, oh my god, like, how are you gonna like negotiate foreign affairs for your country when you can't even like de-escalate this situation right here? You know what I mean? Like, that's on him, you know? He could have just downplayed it, like, oh yeah, they're like friends from school, blah blah blah. Like, he's still going to marry Catherine to everyone, yada yada yada. I don't know, try to handle it better. I do get that Kit did not communicate the significance of the dress, but I guess he didn't really think about it when trying to find something for Lili to wear, or maybe he believed that she deserved to wear it. And Lili low-key made a scene over it for going off on Kit. The only people who had a problem with it was Catherine and Richard. The general guests loved the dress on her. Like, damn, literally straight up. Lili low-key made a scene because she was embarrassed, because Catherine and Richard embarrassed her, period. Everyone else in the whole ball did not care. Everyone was like, wow, I haven't seen that dress is so beautiful. Like, who is she? Like, what family is she from? How was he supposed to tell her, like, this dress is so important to my family and it belonged to my mom and she used to wear it all the time? Like, maybe he just thought that she deserved to wear the dress. But I do get it on Catherine's end. And in the garden, Lili takes off the dress and is in a, oh my gosh, what am I even doing here, bro, moment. And she goes out into the garden to draw Aphrodite to like chill and like figure out her life. So she's like freaking out with her lantern. Aphrodite, where are you? And Catherine sees her in the garden. She's like, oh my gosh, I can do some tomfoolery things right now. So then she goes out to the garden to meet Lili. And then at this moment, I'm like, I better not see a love triangle right now. I can't. I hate love triangles. Love triangles are so annoying. Oh, please. So then Catherine's like, oh my gosh, like, I've known Kit for so long. I know every inch of this garden. I know every inch of this castle. I thought you guys were so close, but I guess not, because I know everything about her. And she's talking about the freaking dress, and she's like, oh my gosh, that dress was worn by his mother, and like, it has the most beautiful embroidery of lilies, and you know, it's supposed to be worn by his future wife, and blah 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 blah. Basically, she's just trying to intimidate Lili. She's trying to claim her role as his fiance. She's just really obsessed over the dress, more than Kit, to be honest. Like, damn, okay, girl, marry the dress then, take it. So then Lili is kind of like, bro, I don't really care. I'm just gonna go back inside at this point. I'm just gonna see my friends. I don't really care, bye. Right? So she's like, I'm gonna go navigate this garden, even though I only remember what Kit told me to go in this garden. And then Catherine's like, oh my gosh, at nighttime you have to turn right instead of straight because of the peacocks. So then Lili's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Catherine. Takes a right. 5 minutes later, runs into some peacocks. She gets jump scared, sprains her ankle, and then she passes out. Sorry that happened, but you know. Basically, Dorothy was gonna like go check on Lili after all that happened. She's like, bro, Lily's missing. Where the frick is she at? Her clothes are on the bed. But her sketchbook is gone, I guess. And then Kit is like, Aphrodite. She's drawing Aphrodite. So she goes to draw Aphrodite, and he knows that. So they go out into the garden to find her, and then Shin finds her, carries her with Aphrodite, and then Kit sees all this happening, and it's like, okay, is there like a love like hexagon happening right now? Because we have Catherine intimidating Lili over Kit. Kit is like, oh my god, Shin is taking care of Lili. Like, I'm no good for this girl. And even my horse is like following them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a whole mess. Also, this episode was literally like freaking 35 minutes minutes long. So then they go back home early. She was planning on going back home early anyways. So basically Dorothy is S tier friend because she was just worried about Lili this whole time and was looking out for her and was on her side. She's literally like, Catherine is no good. Like, she dead ass intentionally gave you bad directions. And then Lili's like, you know, I can't really prove that. And she's like, no, that's what happened. I'm sorry to tell you. So then at this point, Lily's like, I'm low-key broke. I can't pay for rent because the trip was actually expensive. Plus her doctor's visit, which I guess they don't have free healthcare for foreigners or insurance. I guess, I don't know. Dorothy's like, oh, maybe you can ask Professor Brent for a job. She goes to him. He gives her a job to translate this Japanese book for him. Now she's like juggling school and a job. And Shin basically runs into Kit on his way to the museum. He's like, bro, want to be my tour guide in the museum? And Kit's like, well, I guess so, fine, whatever. So they're looking around the museum, they're looking at art sculptures, and then Shin shares his frustration with his art. So he's kind of like having some like art block moment, which, you know, a lot of artists do. I think what the show also does really well is kind of show the different characters having different issues when it comes to their art. So with Shin, he feels like he isn't allowed to be original and isn't allowed to be experimental because, or he was taught very specific technical techniques that has to be followed. But then Kit shows Shin Pieta, which is, it's a real life statue that is made by Michelangelo, but the one that they see in England is a replica. Shin realizes that even though it is a replica, it could still be very inspiring. And then it inspired him to go to Italy to see the original sculpture. Kit explains that he did see the original one when he was younger, and then he saw it and he was like, I understand what my life purpose is now. He feels that because the details of his memory become blurry over time, he feels that like he has to capture moments by drawing so those memories don't fade, which again comes back to like the third episode when he was like talking to Lili about how he wants to like frantically draw every single moment. And again, I really definitely think if cameras back then were more accessible, he would have been a photographer because of this passion of like drawing every single moment so he can remember it. Made him a better artist because he had to practice so much. Shin and Kit run into Peter and Joffrey at the museum and they're like, let's go out to drink at the pub. So then they go out to drink, and then basically Peter and Joffrey, they're like kind of like drunk, but they're like, oh my gosh, like Kit, you're so privileged. He looks down. I don't know, Kit's always like that. He's like never really like energetic or has any like emotions. So like they're like, why are you down? Like, why do you look sad right now? Like, you're so privileged. You have like the whole world in your fingers. Like, there's nothing to be sad about when you're this rich and privileged, right? And they're just like invalidating him for being sad because he has money and is privileged, which, you know, like, I get it. Being privileged lets you be privileged enough to not worry about basic life necessities. And that's like such a big part of like life, unfortunately, that probably 90% of people have to worry about all the time. Maybe not 90%, like 60% of people, maybe 70%, 75%. I don't know. I don't know the statistics, but a big chunk of people on this planet Earth has to worry about their necessities every single day. And that is a big toll mentally. And like, even if they are like worried about those necessities, a lot of the times people still feel like they can have the joy of like living regardless, right? And then they're like, why are you sad? You don't have to worry about all these things. You have nothing to be sad about, right? But I think being sad is still like a human thing and he's allowed to be sad. I think it's weird for them to invalidate that just because he has money. But you know, this is the 1900s. So Lili and Dorothy are at an art store and they're like looking at paint. Lily's like, bro, I'm so burnt out. I'm so tired. I'm working paycheck to freaking paycheck. So this is like the opposite of Kit. Like Kit doesn't have to worry about all that. Lili has a whole job, is working, trying to become top student at the same time. What's going on, right? And then Catherine runs into them at the art store, totally not looking for them all over London. She runs into them and then she hires Lili to paint her a portrait. And Dorothy was sussed out the whole time. She was like, you know, Catherine, after everything that's happened, like, do you even think that this is a good idea? But Lily's like, I need money. I'll do anything for money. But like, even though she's doing it for money, she was still looking at it with like an optimistic viewpoint because she was like, wow, this is the first time anyone's ever commissioned me. Even though it is Catherine and like everyone's just like, damn, like, is it even okay to trust this girl? She still feels like, wow, it's such an honor to be able to draw something for somebody. So then Catherine has has Lili to commission her. I feel like this is just her personality. She meets Lili and she has the need to like, you know, ice break things just to talk about how Kit is literally like living next door across from her house, which her dad literally bought the whole building just for her to live near Kit because Kit decides to live in London to go to art school. And then Catherine's dad is like, okay, I'll buy this whole building so you can live near him. So there's all that. And she's just like talking about how close they are and oh my god, like literally like copy and paste from like the episode they first talked to each other in the garden. You two seems to be awfully close. I can't believe you didn't know he lived here. Like, I don't know. I don't really meet someone for the first like 4 months of their life and then know their address. Like, damn, girl. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing in the 1900s. And then they start the commission and Catherine changes into a different dress and she talks about how it is inspired by the dress that Lili was wearing that day and that how there are two dresses. There is the silver Lili and then there's like the golden one or something. I don't even know what it's called. I don't remember. But there's like this golden one with like roses on it and then the silver Lili, and the silver Lili one was the one that she like admired so much growing up, and she dreamt of wearing that dress after marrying Kit. Catherine took letting Lili wear the dress personally. She felt like Kit did that on purpose because she felt like Kit knew that she loved that dress so much. She felt like Kit did that to be like ha ha ha. Even though dead ass, Kit I don't think has the brain capacity to even think about that because he was just like, wow, pretty dress that I think my mom wore and was so beautiful. I will let this girl that I kind of like wear it because she has nothing to wear to the ball and I want her to enjoy the ball. I don't know, but I could see why she felt like it was personal. I genuinely like empathize with her and I know why she feels spiteful and I get it. But damn. So then they start the commission and Catherine is literally so critical over every single detail. And I feel like this happens a lot in commission. It really can get stressful because you're just like, oh my god, I have to do this over and over and over and over again because it has to reflect the view of the client. And a lot of the times the client doesn't really understand how artists work or have any empathy because they're like, I'm paying you to do this. You have to do it anyway. There is a big part where it's like, yeah, I do get that. Like as an artist, like, yeah, I do understand that like you're paying me, but damn, this is tough. Catherine is so critical over every single detail that she makes Lili to do it over and over and over again until literally the very end of the day, the work time, I guess, or duration of her job. And she's like, okay, Lili, we're gonna start over tomorrow, right? So she's basically back at square one the next day. And then Lili's gonna take the bus home and then she runs into Kit because obviously Kit like lives across the street. This is their first time like seeing each other after the whole Junham Hall stuff happened and the whole, I don't even know how I would act. Honestly, like after all that, I don't think I could even talk to Kit. I feel like I would be so like, wow, things are so awkward now, but like Lili is so brave and she's like, I was at Catherine's house because she commissioned me to paint her, right? And he was like, how did that happen? The fuck? She's like, well, it's an honor. I'll take it. I need a job, unlike you. And then he asked her on a date. And I don't think it was a date, but like I would personally classify it as such. But he was basically like, do you want to come drawing with me? I heard there are peacocks at this park. And she's like, oh, why would I want to see peacocks after like that night? And she's like, you know what? I'm busy. Why don't you just go to the park and draw with your fiance anyways, right? Because at the end of the day, it's so true. Like if you do have a fiance, like why are you inviting me out? Like you have to settle that. Like settle that issue first. Sorry. I wouldn't fall for Kit either. I'd be like, no. Even though I low-key like you too, you have to freaking solve that shit because I'm not gonna be played with. I'm not gonna be going on dates with you and like you're gonna flirt with me just for you to marry someone else, especially if that person is my client. Yeah, Lili is broke, overworked, 2 jobs, no money for food, school, barely getting any sleep. So Dorothy's like, hey Shin, can you go check in on her? And then Lili is back at work. They have a little chat. Lili's like, hey, what's your hobbies? You know, she's like, I want to get to know you better. What are your hobbies? Catherine's like, I don't have any. I actually don't have any. And she's having a crisis because she's like, am I that boring? I have nothing else in my life other than trying to become a church. So she has a crisis over this. And she's like, oh my god, I got nothing going on in my life other than becoming a wife. And that's like literally all she's had since she was young. So then after her shift, Lili gets invited to Shin and Chakra's house. chakra. Lili gets invited to Shin and Sakura's place for some Japanese food. Lili just bawling her eyes out because she's like, bro, I've never had such amazing food in such a long time, because she does live with somebody and she pays rent with this person. It's like her house mom, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. She makes her like really horrid things. My interpretation is because she probably thinks that is what Japanese people eat, which is kind of insane because she cooks regular stuff for everyone else. It's just Lili. So I think it's like a miscommunication thing, and I think Lili has to be like, yeah, make me food like just as you make it for everyone else, because this ain't it. This ain't Japanese food, please. So Catherine is looking at Lili's painting and she's like, what? I didn't even smile once. How did she like smile for me? But Lili did say that Catherine asked her to look more cheerful, even though as she was posing she wasn't even like smiling at all. So Lili just made her smile in the painting, and she's like, oh my gosh, why did she paint me like this? And then Catherine again is having a crisis over having no hobbies, but she says she doesn't need it anyways because she's like, I don't even need hobbies anyways because I'm gonna become a church. Who needs hobbies? And then she starts to victimize herself and says that Lili painted this to mock her. She's like, no one needs to see me like this, like smiling. And even her assistant is like, this is not how a lady should look, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, bro, she's just smiling. Like, bro, that's crazy. The assistant's like, I'm just gonna throw it out. I'm gonna throw it into the river. You don't need this anymore. This painting is not good enough for my Catherine. So Miss Girl is heading to the freaking river, and while she's doing that, Catherine's like having flashbacks about her times with Lili, and she thinks about like how they've actually spent a lot of time together. They had a bond, and I guess Catherine doesn't really have friends because all she does all day is think about becoming a wife. I guess I don't know. Like I don't really know what she doesn't have hobbies, right? And I guess like the relationships in her life are all like business-esque and not very personal. So I think she felt like a different kind of bond when it comes with Lili, even though she did hire Lili, because Lili did try to make an effort to get to know her, and I guess that's never happened before. So she was thinking about her bond with Lili, and she was like, wait, I need to stop this right now. I can't throw this painting out. So we cut to the assistant chucking it into the river, or about to, and then Kit is right there, you know, the same as the episode 1 when he's just drawing by the river, catches her throwing it out, and he realizes that that was Lili's painting. And he's like, what are you doing? That's Lili's painting. And then he calls her out. He's like, yo, that's so disrespectful, so offensive to throw out an artist's work. It's the same as literally throwing mud in their eyes, you know? Spitting at them. It's disrespectful, it's rude, a war crime essentially. Catherine then calls out Kit for dancing with Lili and letting her wear the dress despite being engaged together. Again, she's not mad at him for dancing with Lili, she's just more mad at him for letting her wear the dress despite being engaged, which I get it, but you could see that she doesn't actually like him, she just cares about the dress. Kit obviously doesn't like her. So then they're like fighting. Like, bro, you don't even like me. You don't like me at all. So then Catherine asks Kit if he's in love with Lili. She's like, tell me, are you in love with Lili? And she's like, bro, don't tell me so. Don't you dare tell me so. Even though she's asking, she's like, tell me, but don't tell me, you know? This man goes, in English dub, perhaps I am in love with her. English sub doesn't hit, bro. It says, I see. That's it. You may be right. English dub, I am in love with Lili. English sub, I am probably in love with Lili. Come on. I can't just imagine watching this in English sub and being like, give me some more juice, please. Please, like anything. Don't tell me probably. Tell me you are. And then going to the English dub, and he's like, yes, I am in love with Lili. Oh my god. Thank you. Thank you for standing on that.
Ooh, yeah. Let's go.
So then Miss Girl was on her way to work, and she heard all of that go down. Freaking falls again for the 100th time. She ran away. And then Kit ran after her, but Miss Girl was too fast and freaking Sonic, you know? But we have a flashback to when they were arranged to be married, and they were introduced to each other when they were kids. They were like, y'all were basically arranged since birth to marry each other, and I guess that's like a noble thing, 1900s thing to do. All she did in her life was to do everything to be a worthy church wife. you kind of like understand her a little bit more here because like she was conditioned to do this since she was young, which is so unfortunate that she had to cater her whole life around a man that didn't even like her back. So then they would hang out with each other a lot, and she was always bored when Kit would just draw and stuff. She's like, this is so boring. So boring. What do we do? And then Kit noticed that she made dresses for her dolls, and she talked about how she likes making dresses for her dolls, but her mom would stop her because they would tell her that sewing is a maid's job. So then she had to kind of like give up that passion. But even Kit was like, oh, the dress is pretty. You know, he was like validating her. And again, she kind of talks about how much she wanted that dress and loves that dress. So like you could see where this is heading, what her hobby is. But yeah, so after Lily ran away from Kit and Catherine, she runs into Peter, where Peter's like, I can't draw. Everything I create is terrible. I'm not good enough. All of my art sucks. I'm throwing and burning every single sketchbook I have. Everything is ugly and terrible. 110% something artists go through. We go through little art blocks, and if you don't know what an art block is, I remember learning what an art block was. I was in art class in high school, and my friend was like, I have art block. And I'm like, what is art block? And he's like, it's like a block in your brain where it's like blocking your creativity from flowing through, or like any creation you make you feel like isn't good enough. And that's essentially it. He's just going through an art block, feeling like nothing is good enough, and he's going through it. And I relate sometimes. I think very valid, but it was a really short scene. So then Lily goes home. Her house mom is like, there's a really pretty rich girl looking for you in your room. Goes up to her room. Catherine's in there. She's like going off on her, talking about how her life was revolved around being a perfect wife for Kit and how she had to fit in with the churches since birth. And then Catherine finally asks Lily, okay, do you like Kit? And then Lily beats around the bush without really saying it, but she says essentially that all she thinks about is his art and his art process. Even though he's crusty and rude, she somehow can't take her eyes off of him, which is like, okay, girl. Okay. So she says it without saying it, essentially. And Catherine's like, okay, that's all I need to know. Bye. Right? So basically Catherine's like, okay, yeah, you like him. Whatever. But she's like, but I would like to continue to commission you to paint me my portrait. But you have to come to my real house next time. Because like, I guess that's just one of her many apartments that she has. But she asks her to go to her actual home next time. But she continues to commission Lily anyways. And to pay her, basically. And Lily's like, okay, I need the money. I'll do it. Even though the relationship is so weird right now. It's so weird. So then the whole gang goes into the pub to have like, you know, dinner, drinks, whatever, because Shin got first place in his critique and he's in sculpting, so he got first place, and everyone just decides to celebrate because that was his first critique, being a new student, and he got first place, which is a huge deal. And then this is where shit hits the fan. Peter gets frustrated about how a new student already got first place in critiques and how he hasn't even gotten podium yet. Peter, being a student that has been there for a while already, he's like, bro, I haven't even gotten first, second, or third yet, but how did Shin get first place being a new student? And he even criticizes Joffrey for not seeing Shin as a threat or like competition, especially after being in the same department, because Joffrey's also in sculpting. Joffrey and everyone else is like shocked because Peter is essentially invalidating Shin's hard work. Just because he's a new student doesn't mean like he didn't work hard prior to being a student. So then Peter opens up about how he feels like his art isn't anything special and compares himself to Kit. Joffrey and Peter says that he is born with natural talent and has a privileged background, which is why his art is special. And then Kit essentially says that instead of worrying about comparing yourself to other people's work or worrying about other people's opinions, look at yourself as your own competition, do what you can do to improve your own work and practice. He says all this verbatim, but like he says it in a really rude freaking way, but this is basically what he's trying to say. Yeah, he says it with sass. He says, that's ridiculous. If you have time to complain, aren't there better things you could be doing? Instead of slighting other people's skill, you should ask yourself whether you've done everything you possibly can to refine your own. So he's really just saying, why are you complaining? Maybe it's a skill issue. So Peter and Lili basically start calling him out, and Peter says that he doesn't know about the struggle of being unable to put your vision onto paper correctly. That's a big thing. A lot of people struggle with like having a vision in your head and feeling like you can't put that vision in your head on paper. Me as an artist, like when I do have a vision, it never really comes out on paper exactly as I see it. It's basically the feeling and the vibes that get transferred on. And I think a part of the process is just like the changes that go onto the paper is just a part of what makes it my artwork. Peter says that Kit not only was born talented, he was also born privileged with rich people lined up to buy his work just because of his name. And he's offended that Kit thinks it's just practice when Peter believes it's not just that. This part is when it gets spicy. So Kit says, "Aren't you studying here to get better, Peter? Precisely because you're not good enough? I mean, that's why we're here." Like, damn, bro. He's not even saying like everyone else is here for that. Like, we're all here to get better, including him. And then Peter says, "How dare you say that? You're not one of us. You think you're better than us in every way." He's not even saying that. He's saying we're all trying to get better. We're all sloppy. We're all not good enough. We're all here to study, to get better, not to be the best. And then Kit says, "In the first place, why do you care what people think? Is praise what you're after? What a joke." What good will that do? If you're only painting to become number one, you might as well quit. Which... it's tough to hear. It's really freaking tough to hear. And then Lili slaps Kit and yells at him for having no compassion and respect. Everyone is trying their best, even if it includes struggle, unlike how Kit can create art easily and he doesn't understand how anyone feels. And then Kit walks away saying that he never thought that his own paintings were good. That's why he paints a lot. And then Lili says that Kit never returned to school after that incident. Which, here's my opinion. Here's my opinion on everything. I was mostly on Kit's side as an artist. Comparison genuinely won't help you as an artist. It won't. Your only competitor is you yesterday. You can study technicals, but if you don't practice, knowledge won't do much. The best way to improve is practice. Comparison genuinely won't make you a better artist. It will only just make you really anxious, like incredibly anxious, because you're just like comparing yourself to someone else. And I don't really think that's very productive, because other people, especially in college, when you're in college, a lot of the times people come in with a lot of different experiences and training versus like high school, for example, or elementary school. It's so different because everyone kind of starts at the same place. But in college, no, not everyone starts at the same place. Everyone has very different skill sets. But all in all, college is there for you to learn and to get better and to practice. It's not to be better than anyone. Maybe Kit could have worded what he was trying to say nicely, but I feel like they pushed his buttons to get to that point. I think first off, Kit isn't the most well-spoken person, and I think his bluntness and the way he says things escalates problems for no reason sometimes, because I don't think this could have escalated to the way it happened if he said it nicely. But like, I feel like it was kind of valid. So like, as I said here, Peter and Lili were being inconsiderate of Kit's feelings as an artist. They think that just because he has praise from everyone, they believe he is naturally talented and is spoon-fed his whole life. He is cocky about his work, but he really is the opposite. Every time Kit meets with like Peter especially, it's always like, you're so privileged. You have all of this spoon-fed to you, right? And it's different because Kit doesn't care about the opinions of those rich people that are trying to buy his art, right? Those are things that like Peter values. He wants praise from the professor, from the general public, from people that want to buy art. He wants people to be lined up at his art. But Kit is like, I don't really care about that. That's not what's going to make me a better artist. And he knows that people are lined up because he is Chris Church. That's why he doesn't feel like he's a good artist. People's opinions don't matter because he doesn't feel like they're real opinions. Other than Brandt, I think Brandt is like straight up to him. But like, he doesn't feel like those opinions matter other than his own. And he doesn't feel like his work is that good. Felt like they were invalidating all my work, because obviously like they don't know Kit enough to know that he literally would draw like 100 times every day because he wants to capture every single moment. Like, that's how he got good. He got good because he sees the world in a different way, because he practiced since he was like freaking born out of his mom's womb, because he grew up around all that, right? Them saying you're just privileged and rich and like God gave you this talent invalidates all the work that he put into it, into his skill. I didn't really expect to be a Kit defender because I didn't really like him in the beginning, but like, here I am defending this guy. Kit never celebrated getting first place. He was optimistic about Lili getting it and was present for Shin's celebration, even though he isn't really a fan of the system, because Lili wanted to get first place or top student because that was a requirement for her to stay in London. He was still like, I think you can do it. I think you can do it. And even though everyone was like, okay, well, let's like celebrate for Shin's getting first place, he was still present to celebrate that with him, even though he's not a fan of the system. Kit never showed off his work or boasted. Lili and Peter were projecting. I said it, they were projecting. Prestigious art schools are tough. I went to OCAD for a year and they dead ass would give the, well, if you can't handle the criticism, then leave energy. That's just how it is. I feel like even though Kit could have been nicer, he was just telling them. I went to OCAD University for like a year, and OCAD is basically like the biggest art school in Canada, post-secondary. The energy very much was, if you can't handle the criticism, then leave. You don't have to be here. OCAD has a huge dropout rate, and I left. Bye. Honestly, Kit was just being real. He was being honest without sugarcoating it. Was always taught that no matter how much you improve, you'll always be better than someone, and someone will always be better than you. I think that's the lesson here. No matter where you are in life, no matter what like program or like profession you're in, and no matter how much better you get, there will always be someone better than you, but you will still be better than someone else. It's just a never ending. If your goal is to be the best, then you gotta pack it up, because that's unrealistic. You're not gonna be the best. You can't be the best because there's gonna be someone better than you at something. Problem isn't Kit or not practicing enough, it's the school system. Having a leaderboard can motivate students to work harder or inspire them, but art is subjective. Beauty is the eye of the beholder. If the top 3 students is always up to Professor Brandt, the results could be different if a different professor looked at it. It's not a fair system and it stresses students out unnecessarily. That's what I'm saying, and that's what I wrote. Like I said earlier in this video, having the critiques based off of an art piece that you have to make in less than a day, probably in a couple hours, and having that decide who is the best out of like the whole program is really stupid, and I think it is very unfair, and I think it stresses everybody out for no reason. So I could see why Lili, Peter are stressed out, because they don't think that they're good, because that's how the school system is set up, and I don't think that is fair, and I don't think that's gonna be a productive way to make anyone any better. Having the critiques, like I said, having everyone give their opinions, what is good about your art, what is bad about your art, what you can fix about it, how you can fix it, a way more productive and motivating way to improve than to have, okay, based off of Professor Brandt's opinion, these are the top 3 students, and Kit is gonna be the best because I think he can always think outside of the box. Professor Brandt is say all end all. I don't think that's very fair, and I think that's the problem. Not Kit, not Peter, it's literally the school system. But I do think Kit should have acknowledged his privilege. He doesn't have to worry about bills, food, etc., so he has time to practice. Probably been having time to, unlike others like Lili who had to pick up jobs. He grew up with his dad being a painter, which is a privilege, and he also worked closely with Brandt, who was his dad's art school friend. We kind of learned these things later on in the show. I think it is important for Kit to acknowledge his privilege, even though everyone is so critical about his privilege and like bullies him about it. I also do agree that like his privilege is also a big reason why he's good at art, right? Because he has the time to practice, like unlike a lot of other students who probably don't have the time to practice as much as he does. Obviously doesn't have the means to get good quickly. And also growing up with a family member that is a painter, especially during this time, is also a privilege, and being able to work with the professor who was friends with his dad is also a big privilege as well. You know, there's food for thought, all that. And I think, you know, Kit maybe gotta bite the bullet, be like, yeah, I'm privileged. But Lili and Peter should also give Kit credit. Even though he's privileged and naturally talented, you can't deny he didn't work his ass off to get where he is now. Money and natural talent can only go so far. Practice is still an all true answer, which is true. Anyways, Lili feels like it's her fault that Kit stopped going to school. As I mentioned, after that whole fight scene, Kit just stopped showing up. So she's like, bro, it's my fault. I stopped him. I'm gonna go to jail for assault. And then Shin brings Lili Lili to the zoo to cheer her up. Lili feels like she was projecting when she confronted Kit, so she kind of feels bad about it. She's like, I think I misinterpreted how he felt or what he was trying to say, and I feel like I only got mad because I felt like he was not only talking to Peter but also to me. That's essentially what she was trying to say. And then Shin's like, don't worry about him because he's privileged, he's talented, he's hardworking, and on top of all of that, he doesn't care what others think. So even though like they had the argument, Kit probably didn't take it to heart. And then Shin tells Lili that he wants to study sculpting in Italy because Michelangelo was his inspiration, and now he's like, my dream is to go to Italy to learn and to feel the environment that Michelangelo learned in. And then Lili goes to Catherine's home base to paint her again, but it was actually just Catherine's way of getting Lili to come over to her house. Catherine ends up giving Lili a bunch of her old clothes, and then she's like nerding out about the style of the dresses. She's like, oh my god, this fabric is so beautiful, this embroidery is so perfect, and the detail is amazing. It looks so great on you. You'll love it, right? So she's like giving her a bunch of these dresses as an apology because she barged into Lili's house and she realizes the way she treated Lili wasn't the best. And she also realizes that she would rather be her own person and have hobbies and pursue her dreams, and that she doesn't want to be a church. She actually realizes that like Kit is like, I don't really like you, and she's like, I don't even like him, he's stinky and he's weird, like what the heck. So she'd rather pursue her passion for fashion and design instead of getting married. And Lili actually inspired her to follow her passion. And then Lili gives Catherine a yuzen, which is like a Japanese kimono outfit. And then Catherine commissions Lili to paint her again with a happy expression wearing the yuzen. And she wants people to see her that way with like a smile, which is so cute. So basically they're like besties now and everything's good because I'm glad that the whole love triangle thing didn't drag on. They're not enemies. Catherine like emotionally understands herself, mature enough to like make up with Lili, because in other anime like Romeo and Juliet, like oh my gosh. And then Richard pulls up and he tells Catherine that Kit is staying at Jennum Hall permanently and that she has to marry Kit that very weekend. And then now everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? So then that's where we leave off in episode 10. And my voice is freaking going away right now. So that is the story so far. I'm gonna do another video on the last 10 episodes, so episodes 11 all the way to 20, and we will follow along with Lili's journey in London as an art student. So much has happened. I think there's so much relatability as an art student or like as a creative person to this story so far, and like the struggles and the dynamics with the friends. And I love Catherine's emotional maturity as well as Lili, because she never really like held anything against her for anything. She's like super mean to Kit because like he is her rival. I think Kit could just be nicer as well. Like everyone's like, can you just communicate properly? Yeah, it's nice to see that the end of like that little arc with Catherine to end positively. It's also nice to see Shin having new aspirations. Kit, GG's, left school. Bye guys. I guess I have to marry Catherine now though, which we will see what happens. Do they get married? I don't know, maybe watch the show or stay tuned for the next video. But yeah, that's all that. I'm super excited to continue the story. My voice is gone, but I hope you guys enjoyed this like little format of like me talking about the story, because I don't know, I think it's really fun to have like a little PowerPoint presentation. I don't know, let me know down below if you guys just prefer me yapping away or like a more structured version of like me yapping away with like PowerPoint slides. Let me know down below, and let me know what you guys think about like the first 10 episodes of Love Through a Prism and like what you guys think about it. Anyways, thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.